Monday on Dr. Phil.
My parents hate Jason.
Are they meddling?
We have tried not to put our nose in their marriage.
I mean, you did wear a black dress to her wedding.
Or just concerned?
I've been taught I need to submit.
You're a pastor, right?
Yes.
You are an abusive man. No.
Outrageous in-laws.
She tells me that they're not even having sexual relations.
Oh, that's false.
You ought to be out of that. Let's do it.
Have a good show, everybody. Here we go.
This is a safe place to talk about hard things.
Stand by. We'll count you down.
I try to be an emotional compass and point you in the right direction.
5, 4.
I am not giving up on you. How you doing? Hey, guys. Well, my guest Laura says June 24th, 2006 was one of the worst days of her life. She says it's a day that has given her just as much heartache as when she lost her newborn child at only 12 days old. Dressed in the same black dress she wore to her mother's funeral, Laura says she spent the day in mourning. So was she attending a funeral? No. She wore that black dress to a wedding. It was her only daughter's wedding. And this was her one chance to be mother of the bride. And Laura says her daughter's pastor husband, Jason, ruined it. It's been almost a decade since the wedding, but Laura's daughter, Sarah, says her mother and dad simply refuse to accept Jason as her husband. Take a look.
My parents hate Jason. My parents are controlling. It's their way or the highway.
I'm a pastor and I have my own church.
Well, we begin a new series of messages this morning entitled Christianity 101.
I feel like I need to protect Sarah from her mom and dad. They love her in a very distorted way.
They have a problem with everyone that I've ever been interested in. They would have a problem with Jesus because he walked around barefoot and would have had dirty feet. When Jason and I started dating, we had an absolutely perfect relationship with my parents. Then everything changed. Jason asked for permission to marry me, and my dad told him to wait. Jason and I decided to go ahead and get married anyways. On the day of my wedding, 15 minutes before him to walk down the aisle, my mom came in an old black dress that she used to wear to funerals.
They're controlling and they're verbally abusive. Laura put her finger in my face and she said, Jason, you have defiled our daughter and you have destroyed our life. There is nothing you could ever do that we should even think of forgiving you for. She'll point at me like this, and she won't do this, but she'll literally point at me like this, as if to say, your time's coming, dude. Bill told me that he has people that owe him a favor. He told me, I'm lucky they don't allow you to carry guns on a plane because if they did, I'd be dead.
This has been going on for a decade. It's always been very dramatic and exhausting. God himself cannot even fix these problems.
Well, now, Bill and Laura say they have a very good reason to meddle in their daughter's marriage.
We have Jason to thank for the life that we've now lived and are living. It's been a heartache from the moment he's come into our life. Sarah wasn't given to him. He took her.
Jason is very controlling.
How are you?
Who's that?
He bullies her, and it's not right. No woman should ever be afraid in her own home.
She can't talk to mom. She can't talk to dad. She can't talk to her brother. She is a pastor's wife, so therefore she has no friends.
Jason is very dominating, and she is very submissive. Jason is demeaning and insulting. He treats Sarah like a second-class citizen. I mean, she's like his slave.
And I told Sarah, if you have got to go through with this shing-ding you want to call a joke of a wedding, I was going to make a statement without saying a word, and I wore black.
He keeps her from getting a job, for getting out of the house. She said, I would leave Jason if I knew how to get out of it.
But see, mom and dad, we can talk until we're blue in our face. She's got that Stockholm syndrome. I feel like there's a freight train coming, and I can see it, and I don't know how to stop it. And he bullies her. He bullies her at church. He uses the pulpit as a bully pulpit. He bullies her at home. He verbally abuses her. He's got her funneled into dust. I lay in bed and I think, oh my God, what did I do wrong? And I am afraid. There won't be a hole, there won't be a rock big enough for him to hide under. He ever hurts my daughter, I'll find him. I'll hunt him down like a rabid dog.
Well, it's gotten so bad that fists started flying just 3 weeks ago when Bill and Jason faced off.
I was chased into my kitchen by my father-in-law, and he got up in my face.
I says, listen, I'm not afraid of you. And don't you ever make my daughter afraid.
I did nothing to provoke him. I told him that the issue was between me and his daughter, not me and him.
He bumped me in the chest. That's when it's on.
He kneed me in the groin, and he just started swinging. He hit me on the head, and he hit me 2 times in the chin.
Boom, boom, and I hit him.
I did not even move. I didn't flinch whenever he hit me.
I'm not sorry I did it. He brought it on.
Well, very dramatic tape from you two. I mean, we're talking a fist fight in the kitchen, and you're going to hunt him down and into the dust and all of that. What has gone so wrong here that has made this such a life and death struggle?
Well, the question is not what has gone wrong. The question is what's been right.
No, that is the question. I'm doing the interview, and that's the question.
Yeah, that is the question.
The question is, what's gone so wrong to trigger this being into this point?
The absolute disrespect that has started from day one, get-go, from the time that Jason has come into our home, in our life. It has been absolutely horrendous.
What was the act of disrespect? Was there a particular act that triggered this where you said at that point, okay, that I know now? Was there a moment when you said, wow, I get it now, this is a dark road?
Well, it wasn't just one moment, but it's been multiple moments. But the very first time that we ever even met Jason was when my husband had a quadruple bypass. We specifically asked him, please do not come. My husband could die.
No.
And what does he do? We open the door, and Jason is on the porch.
Why did you not want him there?
Well, my husband could have died. You definitely don't leave. I'm going to be at the hospital all the time, and you don't leave young people unattended in your home.
How old was your daughter?
About 20-ish. And you don't leave young people unattended in home.
Oh, may I?
20-ish?
Yes.
How old was she?
She was around 20-ish. 20, 21.
I was 20.
Yeah.
20. Okay. What was it for you? What was the point at which you knew that this guy was walking evil?
When I finally thought he was so disrespectful is when he called on March 14th and asked November 14th, I'm sorry. He wanted permission to marry my daughter. And Laura's mom, we were walking out the door to take her to the hospital because she had congestive heart failure.
Right.
And it was about 9:30 at night, and I asked him to wait. Sarah came home on December 19th with a wedding ring on her finger.
Not a wedding, an engagement.
An engagement, yes.
Well, you didn't say no. You just said wait.
Just wait, but he didn't do it.
Well, he didn't marry her right then. He did.
No.
What he said. How long was the wedding after that?
6 months.
Oh, so he did wait.
No,
6
he
months.
didn't. He asked for permission to ask for the engagement, and I asked him to wait,
Okay.
and he didn't do that.
You want this marriage shut down.
We have tried not to put our nose in their marriage.
Yeah.
Laugh all you want.
Yeah.
And later,
They're not even having sexual relations.
Well, that's false.
Well, and you ought to be at your sexual peak.
well, you
At
ought to be
29:30.
you ought to be out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tomorrow on Dr. Phil. She hates her mom,
You told your mother, I want you to die in a car accident.
but they need her money.
I can't afford to be on my own.
Then you ought to get the chip off your shoulder.
Mom's not working,
I have, I guess you could say, a side business.
so how's she making cash?
Selling narcotics.
I was.
You still are.
I am compelled by law to report that.
Report away, I don't care.
That's tomorrow.
Two things I want to be clear on. Number one, you want this marriage shut down, right?
No, I
No,
want
that's not a-
Jason to not ever make my daughter
No.
afraid.
Okay,
when she
you
was
don't
there.
want her to come home and bring those babies and get away from him? Just be real clear, because I want to know what it is, what your objective is.
I don't want Sarah ever to be as afraid as she was. She was so afraid she would not go upstairs and sleep with her own
Okay, so
husband.
you don't want, I'll get to you in a
Yeah.
minute.
Okay,
I promise.
I appreciate that.
This is not my first rodeo. I know how to do an interview here.
Well,
you
Have
do
you
not
ever
want her to get a
Have you ever rode a
divorce.
bull that's 6'5"?
You don't want her to get a divorce.
What it is we don't want our daughter to live in an abusive, controlling, manipulative relationship. And that's exactly how Sarah's living. You have got a tether on our daughter. You can sit there, shake your head, no, we saw with our own eyes. Now, nevertheless, this whole situation has come about because you're a disrespectful boy. You were asked to wait. Why did you even bother calling Bill for his hand, Sarah's hand, when you never even gave a rip, nor your parents, to even listen or to, of his request? We do not want our daughter or our grandkids to live in a continuous, abusive, controlling, manipulative relationship. And you can sit there and shake your head no all you want. You were so scared
No, I was
that
not
evening.
afraid. No,
You
I
were
wasn't.
literally so scared. She was whispering, Dr. Phil. It was, shh, 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 don't talk. She was so scared that Jason was thumping up and down the steps, flipping the
I'm
lights
glad
on
to hear
and off.
you don't necessarily want her out of it, because I thought you said there's nothing you can ever do to fix this. In your tape, you said there's nothing you can ever do. Given what he's already done, there's nothing you can ever do to fix it. So you're saying this is not irreparable.
No.
You're saying that you don't necessarily want her to leave.
No, what I'm saying is there's nothing he can do as far as what has been done. What's been done is history. We are not, and we are absolutely in agreement. We don't want you living in an abusive relationship, nor would any parent.
Okay, so you don't necessarily want her to get a divorce.
No, we
he's
have
not a
tried not to put our nose in their marriage.
Yeah.
Laugh all you want.
Yeah.
Well, that does seem...
No.
Like you
no,
said, that-
now listen,
Okay.
that's not fair. And the reason that's not fair, we live in Michigan, they live in Ohio.
Okay, I'm just trying to get an answer. You don't necessarily want her to get a divorce.
No, I don't necessarily
Okay, good.
want her
Okay, then
to be
the other
divorced.
question, and I promise I'm going to talk to y'all. You get to weigh in here. And the other thing I want to be clear on. So number one, I'm clear that you don't necessarily want her to get a divorce, right?
Not
That's a
if he
yes or no.
changes.
That's not an essay. That's yes or no.
Not if he changes.
Okay.
I don't
All right.
want her to be in an abusive marriage.
Okay, and the second thing is you two have absolutely no confidence in how you've raised your daughter.
Oh, yes, we do.
You don't have any confidence in her ability to make up her own mind,
No.
her ability to stand up for herself, her ability to negotiate this marriage. You don't feel like she can do this on her own.
Sarah
No, not
is-
on her own.
Sarah-
Without
Okay, so
help.
yeah. Okay.
Sarah has always been very gullible. She's always been
Okay.
very,
All right.
and bad communications.
Okay, well,
corrupts
and I'm
good
glad to hear
manners.
you admit that,
Right.
because it's,
She does need
a
help.
lot of parents, they have a hard time admitting that they didn't raise their children to stand up and be able to function on their own.
She's a pleaser.
Absolutely, and we've raised
Okay,
Sarah to be able to fly.
Okay.
Yep.
I got you.
Go ahead.
Okay. What did you want to say?
Regarding what they were saying about Jason's visit, we did have their permission beforehand. We didn't know that my dad was sick and going to be having a quadruple bypass, and he had already purchased his tickets beforehand. I kind of feel like we're getting off subject, but
we really are.
But we did have their permission, and we were not alone. We were alone maybe in the car when I picked him up in the airport, but
you were
anyways,
20.
I was 20, yes, correct.
But I'm really impacted by how little confidence they have in how well they raised you.
Yeah, it feels great.
They don't trust you to be alone with a boy at 20.
Right.
They don't trust you to be able to negotiate your marriage without their intervention and help. They don't have much confidence in their ability to parent, but at least they admit that.
No, that's
They said,
not
right,
correct. No, that's not correct.
No, that is correct. You said, yes, she's gullible and
She is gullible. And just because she's gullible doesn't mean that we've lacked in parenting. It's
Oh, you're changing your answer.
no, I'm straight up. I'm not. Sarah is absolutely gullible. That has nothing to do with our parenting skills. That's Sarah's personality. She's always been
Well,
gullible.
we kind of write on the slate of who they are, though, don't we?
And so then, therefore, by being gullible, you've went ahead and preyed upon it.
No, Jason and I were deeply in love, which is why I chose to.
You were or you are?
Are.
Yeah, there you go.
No, really, we are deeply in love. But
Yeah.
like a normal married couple, we still have issues, and we're choosing to work through them. And I've tried to tell my parents, yes, we have issues. We admit that we have issues. We know we're not perfect. We know our relationship's not perfect, but we are trying to work through our problems.
All right, well, we got to take a break, and then I want to hear from this guy, because he apparently is bad news. So we're going to hear from bad news here. Up next, Jason says he believes a woman should be submissive in a marriage. Ooh.
Yeah, laugh at that one.
Yeah, that ain't so funny, is
No.
it? Sarah says he's too controlling. Mom says he's a bully. We're going to talk about all that when we come back.
It's important that Sarah has an independent nature with a submissive characteristic. I believe a wife who is the weaker vessel leaning on her husband who's supposed to be stronger, that's just the way God made us.
I've been taught that I need to submit. Submitting means hubby is always right.
Thursday on Dr. Phil.
My daughters are heroin users.
3 beautiful girls
This is how I make my money.
You trade sex for money to buy drugs.
shooting heroin
You 3 are high right now, right?
under their parents' roof.
We get high together. We shoot optics 7 times a day.
This is your home, Dad.
They beat me down.
Then be a man. What are you doing?
Thursday. Then on Friday, a bitter feud between 2 former friends.
Do you have children?
I have 2 little boys.
After her son died, she says you cyberbullied her. What went through your head that made that okay?
That's Friday.
Jason should treat me like a princess. My parents, they have always put me in the prettiest, frilliest, most gorgeous, glittery dresses. They have sent me all over the country. I've even been to Paris, France.
Even her name means princess. She's been the apple of our eye. She has always been and always will be our little girl, period.
Well, Bill and Laura have really had a problem with their son-in-law since the day he married their daughter. Well, really before he married their daughter 8 years ago. He says they've consistently tried to come between him and his wife, and he says he's just sick of it. But Bill and Laura say they have a very good reason to interfere in their daughter's life. Take a look.
Jason can be controlling. The way that Jason was raised can at times bring conflict into our marriage. He was raised with traditional 1950s marriage roles. I'm the homemaker and Jason's the breadwinner. I feel like I have to ask permission to go places. Jason will track the iPhone. He has checked my Facebook. I've been asked to put someone on speakerphone so he could hear what was going on.
I can be a jerk. I can be controlling, manipulative. I want to know what's happening, when it's happening, why it's happening. There have been times that I have been verbally abusive. I say things that I don't like. My wife just happens to be in the line of fire.
He's abusing my daughter. I've seen it. And yes, I am afraid. He's 6'5" and 350 pounds. He blocks her in a doorway. I've seen Jason stomp up the steps, huff at her, slam the refrigerator.
One time I took out my anger on Sarah and I punched a wall. So I pushed her out of the way to get into my bedroom.
I'm fed up with the way that Jason treats me. I've been taught that I need to submit. Submitting means hubby is always right.
I believe a wife who is the weaker vessel leaning on her husband who's supposed to be stronger, that's just the way God made us.
I am tired of being controlled. I am ready to be my own person.
I want her to be her own person. It's important that Sarah has an independent nature with a submissive characteristic.
Okay, you're a pastor, right?
Yes.
So, are you a Bible scholar?
I would not consider me to be a Bible scholar, no.
Well, I wouldn't either, because the Bible doesn't say that.
In regards to my wife being submissive?
Yes.
I believe the Bible says that husbands are to love their wives as Christ loved the church, and the Bible says that wives are to be submissive to their husbands.
You love your wife as Christ loved the church.
Right.
I don't think Christ was verbally abusive with the church. I don't think Christ stomped around and slammed into the walls and that sort of thing. That's not loving your wife as Christ loved the church. And the submission followed from the love.
Right.
And that is not what you're talking about here.
Right.
That is a perversion of the scripture which is offensive to my sensibilities. Yeah. So I really find it offensive when people use scripture for their own agenda, and that to me is a cheap shot. So which is it? I mean, you're either wanting to have a godly marriage or you're wanting to run your own insecurities and your own agenda and use that to bolster your argument. You can't have it both ways.
No, I believe that I'm supposed to set the example in the home. And
how are you doing on that front?
That's why I'm here.
How are you doing on that front?
I don't think I'm doing good.
He is doing better and making strides towards, I mean, he's not like this always.
He's got a tracker on your phone.
It's his phone in case the kids lose it as well, but yes.
And I don't follow her everywhere she goes.
I want to know what's happening, where she is, and why.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why. I honestly don't know why I want to know all that.
We'll talk about why in a minute. I want to talk about the fact that that's the case.
Sure, it is. Yeah.
And do you consider that to be part of her submission to your will?
No, I don't think that.
Do you consider that to be part of your godly right as a husband?
No, sir.
Her weaker vessel needs to lean upon you by letting you know where she is, what she's doing, and who she's doing it with at all times?
No, I don't. Why I act that way, I don't know, Dr. Phil. But I know that
let's not wrap that up in the scripture and talk about it as though it's some kind of ordained role of the man in the family, because it certainly is not. And I'll debate that with you as long as you want to do it.
No, I won't debate that. How would you know if we're having sex or not?
Because of what my daughter's told me.
It has been a little slow.
And you ought to be at your sexual peak. You said?
Closed captioning provided by... Let me ask you something. Do you call your mother and complain about your husband?
Yes, I have. And I know that that's where part of the issue is because I have complained to my mom.
Is that fair to your mother?
It's not fair to my mother or my husband. I feel...
Because doesn't that kind of give her one side of things?
It does, but at the same time, when things are going good, I do let her know, too. I'm like, hey, he's working on this.
Well,
things
you
are
kind of
going
let
better.
her know when things are going good, but I assume she's not there for makeup sex.
No. Well, no, thank the Lord.
I mean, really, what happens is you get really upset and you call her and dump on her and give her all the bad news, but then all the times where you are intimate and supportive and loving and caring, You don't give her blow by blow of all of that, do you?
I do tell her, though, that he's working on
You
things.
don't want to do that.
Yeah. Matter of fact, she tells me that they're not even having sexual relations.
Well, that's false.
Well, I don't know about that.
You don't know about that? How
No.
would you know?
Thank the Lord you don't know about that.
How would you know if we're having sex or not?
Because of what my daughter's told me, I just go by face value that
There
she's
were
telling me
at times
truth.
when it has been a little slow.
And you ought to be at your sexual peak.
Well, you
At
ought to be.
29, 30.
You ought to be out of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Then, and I agree.
Help me out, Dad. That's.
Dr. Phil, I agree. But like you said, when she's bringing me into it, now when she's opening the door and bringing me into it,
Which I did not say that's not fair to you.
And there you have it.
I know I've caused the majority of these problems because I've, badmouthed Jason to Mom and, and she already hated him to begin with, so of course she's not going to like him any
That's not
better.
true.
No, it is true.
No, I don't hate anyone, Sarah.
Okay, hate is here. Mom's feelings are like right there.
Well, for one thing, you don't know my feelings.
You've made them evident.
No, you don't know my
you've
feelings.
been fairly expressive.
And Mom's always tried to.
Well, no, you have been fairly expressive. You
Well,
did wear a black dress to her wedding.
Sir, the reason I did that was because I was trying to make a statement
Oh,
without.
loud and clear.
Excuse me now. I let you talk. It's my turn. Excuse me. Now, the reason I wore the black dress was because I was trying to make a statement without saying a word. If you only knew what the whole scenario was. Now, see, I didn't even know that young man.
But
I didn't know his name.
You hit him.
You hit him. Okay.
I didn't hit anyone at any
No,
wedding.
you're right. You didn't hit anyone. You hit two. Not anyone.
That's
you hit
not-
two.
no.
Yeah.
Did you hit
That's a lot.
somebody at the
No,
wedding?
sir.
Oh, yeah.
Did she smack
No.
somebody?
Two.
Who did she? How did that
man-
happen? How did she hit him?
He went to usher her down after the wedding.
I don't
and she
even know
smacked
him.
She goes, I don't think so, young man. My husband will walk me down the aisle.
Oh, that's baloney.
And then what you can't see right behind him was my youth pastor, and she smacked him as well.
No, that's
Good
not
to see you
true.
is what
It was a pat, like it was good to see you.
It's an exaggeration.
I was walking down the aisle. No, now you're fabricating.
That's a fabrication.
Okay.
Dr.
because
Phil,
that's the
I
only
was
one she
walking
did.
down the aisle. I had not opportunity to say anything. It was like a pat.
Right.
It was a hello. That was the only face that was there other than another girl that she grew up with that we even
But,
knew.
come on, wasn't the black dress a little
No,
dramatic?
absolutely not. If you only known,
Come on.
I don't care. No.
Come on. You
I
wore a
don't know.
black dress to your daughter's wedding?
Absolutely, because
showed up
if you
15
should have
minutes
seen
before
how
we
the
got
thing come
married.
about, you would have wore the black dress as well. I absolutely, you know what?
All right, coming up,
No.
Laura says Jason is using her daughter for one thing, but it's not what you might think. We're going to find out when we come back.
He's a good. If the church was to find out how he's treating his family, they would run him out of their church.
He is a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Tomorrow on Dr. Phil. She hates her mom,
You told your mother, I want you to die in a car accident.
but they need her money.
I can't afford to be on my own.
Then you ought to get the chip off your shoulder.
Mom's not working,
I have, I guess you could say, a side business.
so how's she making cash?
Selling narcotics.
I was.
You still are.
I am compelled by law to report that.
Report away. I don't care.
That's tomorrow.
Closed captioning provided by...
Now the irritation of feminine itch? Not a problem.
Cortisone 10 Feminine Itch Relief has the strongest non-prescription itch medicine for fast, gentle, lasting relief. Cortisone 10.
Prior to my relationship with Jason, I had feelings for another man. I realized after we were married that he was my first love. I never got to have a relationship with this man. Jason knows about this other man. When things with Jason and I are ugly, I wonder what would have happened. There will always be a part of me that will love this other man for the rest of my life.
Well, for over 8 years, Laura and Bill say their daughter Sarah has been trapped in a controlling and abusive relationship with her pastor husband, Jason. Now, Laura says Jason is only concerned about himself and is just using their daughter to keep up his image in the church community.
Jason is using his church as a front. He's got a gift of gab, and he's doing it well. If the church was to find out how he's treating his family, they would run him out of their church.
Have been so good. Know the truth of the charlatan, the wolf that's behind the pulpit, a wolf in sheep's clothing that is literally using you, taking you to the bank. He is using the cause of Christ to do it.
Well, that's pretty harsh.
It's truth.
He's a wolf. He's using them, taking their money.
Absolutely.
Charlatan.
Yeah.
Taking up for the money, whatever.
And you say that he's just using her because she's pretty and musically talented and holds up his image as a pastor.
Well, Dr. Phil, you say that you have a Baptist background, and you know every pastor has got to have that wife. And when he brought Sarah home and saw that she was lovely inside and out, musically inclined, they saw what she was.
Well,
had to jump right on that. Had to get him to the altar and do it now.
Yeah, and
listen, do you want to stay in this marriage?
Yes, I do want to stay in this marriage. That's why I called you.
Are you worried about his controlling nature?
At times, yes, I am.
And do you have the ability to confront that and negotiate that and stand up for yourself and redefine that relationship?
I'm glad you asked, because she's my mother and I have her in me. So yes, I'm able to stand up for myself and tell him, you're not treating me this way. I don't like this. And I have done that.
So
and
you've got your mother in you.
Yes, I do.
Does that scare you?
No.
Do you, because I asked her if she had confidence in, did she raise you with strength of character and all of that, because she acts as though she doesn't have confidence in you because she's racing in to rescue you. And you only rescue those that need rescuing, and it seems to me that you, woman, I agree that I've already said I think you've misinterpreted some things that I think you need to re-examine in the way you're looking at this, because I think the role of the man in the family is to be you know, a leader and a teacher and a provider, and you know, there are things that you do in the family, but that doesn't mean you're in a second-class role in any fashion whatsoever. There's a division of labor in any relationship in marriage, but that doesn't mean that you sacrifice any of your liberty. It doesn't mean that there's anything that you have to be told how to think and feel and behave, how to dress or conduct yourself in any way. These are things that are negotiated between a husband and a wife.
Right. And that's why when I say that we have issues, those issues come up, but we are working through them. Things are getting better, but they don't want to hear that when they are.
Yeah. Did you tell her that he was cheating on her?
No.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
When she said, no, my husband would never do that, I trust him, she said to her daughter, that's your first problem, trusting any man.
Have you recently gotten remarried and are struggling to blend your new family? Do your children disapprove of your new spouse, and this is causing your home to be in constant turmoil? If that's true, you're not alone. And if your home is being torn apart because your new spouse and kids are just in conflict and can't get along, and you're being forced to choose between your spouse and your kids, then I want to talk to you about it. And if your adult children are refusing to be part of your life because you've got a new spouse, you may want my help with that too. So go to drphil.com if any of that applies to you, and tell us about your story, because we're doing a series on blended family. Do you use your size to intimidate her?
No.
Because she says that you do.
You have on occasion. Yes, you have.
You called me at your last house and you said, Daddy, will you come down here because Jason will not give me a key to the house or a key to the car, and I'm scared. Will you come down? I said, I'll be there in 3.5 hours because he's blocking me with his size and will not let me out of the house. I want to get out. We've been arguing and he will not let me out. And I said, Sissy, I'll be there. Nobody needs to be afraid. Fear is not of God. And I told you that the night before. Do not make my daughter afraid. Nobody needs to be in fear of their life in their own home, didn't I?
Yep.
But originally I had called you, though, because I started that. What I had said to him was wrong, and I originally called you because I was like, I'm the one that started the ball rolling. And then while we were on the phone is when he got, you know, aggressive.
And we didn't even have a key to that house.
Well,
So, I mean,
I didn't know you didn't.
And
have
I
the key,
never
but you told me you didn't
stood
have
in
the
front
key.
of the front door so she could leave.
No,
Have you held her car keys up
Yes,
and
yes, I
taunted
have.
her
Yeah,
in front
yeah,
of her?
yeah.
What are you doing? What the hell? What is up with that?
I'm acting like a child. In that situation, if I remember it correctly, me and her got into an argument, and she said, give me the keys. And I said, ask for them and I'll give them to you.
Ask nicely.
And she said, I said, give me the keys. And I said, ask for them and I'll give them to you. And then she said, give me the keys. And I said, and Dr. Phil, what I did was ridiculous. I wish I wouldn't have done it. I've asked for forgiveness. She's forgiven me. I said, fine, if you want the keys, get them. And I held them over her head. It was stupid. I shouldn't have done it. I know that.
This is the kind of behavior that we've seen ongoing for quite some time.
They're making it out like I'm always like that.
No, it
Matter of
just got
fact,
worse.
and yes, it's just like a snowball going down the hill. And matter of fact, if Sarah can go ahead and tell Jason, you know, not to do this or that, then why was it that evening that we saw with our own eyes our daughter so afraid that she literally would not even speak like we are now? It was in a total whisper. Shh, shh, we can't talk because Jason, and I'm so scared.
Okay, what is up with that?
Okay.
Yeah, and you did that, Sarah, right in front of Mom and Dad.
I'm asking.
Dr. Phil, I wasn't, like, afraid, but, you know, quote unquote, I didn't want to get in trouble. You know what I mean? I didn't want to.
No, I don't know what you mean.
I didn't want to have another argument. I didn't want things to be tense. I'm not confrontational, and that's why I was whispering. I was not afraid. And yet they are correct. I did not sleep in my bed that night, because when you're upset with someone, who wants to sleep in the same bed?
Did you tell her that he was cheating on her?
Oh, absolutely not. No.
Yeah.
Yes, you did. Really? Yes.
Yeah.
She
and
did.
When she said, no, my
That's
husband
why.
would never do that, I trust him, she said to her daughter, that's your first problem, trusting any man.
That's the first mistake
No.
you ever made. Yes.
That's not true.
That
So
is
you
true.
didn't
That is
suggest
true.
to her that he was cheating on her?
No, why would I do that unless I knew that as a
Why
fact?
would you wear a black dress to her wedding? I don't know.
Because that meant to be. And I don't, you know what? I would do it again.
You didn't suggest to her, so she's lying.
Yes, because
Your
why
daughter's
would I?
lying.
Why?
No, I'm not. I'll take a polygraph.
Why would I ever say that he's?
Why would you say it?
I
Because
don't
you're
even know
trying to
him.
get them split up so you can get her home
No,
where she's safe.
no,
That
that's
night,
not
Dr.
true.
Phil, my wife
No.
overheard her tell her husband, we have to do whatever it takes to get her out of this relationship.
Yes, I heard that.
The thing, what we're meaning by that, Sarah, when?
So there's an explanation to say that?
When is it ever okay to live in an abusive relationship?
He's not.
Period.
Listen, the end may justify the means in your mind, but I'm just asking, did you suggest to her that he was cheating on her?
No.
Just own it. If you said it, own it.
No, and not only that.
Okay.
I don't know.
She did.
Why would
Because they're
you?
saying that you did, and you're saying you didn't.
Why?
So, okay.
The thing of it is why would you bring us into your relationship and want mom and dad to even be here on Dr. Phil if you didn't want the support to get out of this abusive, neglective relationship? Don't, because that's why I've come all the way across the country.
Okay.
Was because my daughter needed us.
Well, but you don't want out of the marriage, correct?
No, correct. I don't want out of the marriage.
Are you sure you don't want out of the marriage?
I am correct.
Because you've got me here to help and support you right now, and he's a big guy.
Right,
but,
exactly.
But, you know, I'm big, too. I mean,
Yeah.
I can...
You have security guards.
I do.
But I wonder, do you also have your wife as the submissive?
Do
like
I have
this?
my wife as submissive?
Yeah, and like this? Well, yeah, because Sarah was that way.
Yeah.
Ed, isn't that funny?
Yeah.
That's how our daughter's living.
Yeah, we've been married 38 years.
Yeah,
and,
we've been married 30.
And no, that's not part of the deal. Closed captioning provided by